Force podcast is supported by viewers, listeners, and businesses just like you. Michelle Parno has lived and worked in Lake Forest for over 2 decades. Michelle's lending experience, when combined with her real estate expertise, makes her an invaluable asset to her clients as they navigate their home buying or selling process. Call Michelle now at 847-528-8721, 847-528-8721. For the best cannabis in the world, look no further than Iliad Epic Grow. Owned by Lake Bluff's own Rich Ruzich, they are a cannabis cultivation center focusing on hard-to-find small batch products that will delight both the occasional user and ganjier. When visiting Michigan, ask for it by name. Epic Products, exceptional process. For more information, email info@iliadgrow.com. Laracy & Company CPAs, founded in 2010 by Lake Forest's own Brian Laracy, specializes in tax preparation and bookkeeping services. Earning the People Love Us on Yelp award, their process is straightforward. Just upload, review, and file. For a free quote, visit laracycpa.com now. That's LARISEYCPA.com. I'm excited to share with you something special from our Lake Forest community, the Aesthetic Lounge Med Spa, located at 775 North Bank Lane in Lake Forest near Wisconsin Avenue. This just isn't any spa. They offer an amazing blend of traditional spa services plus the added benefit of medical procedures and treatments. In a relaxing and luxurious spa environment, you can enjoy a range of cosmetic and aesthetic treatments. These are all performed under the supervision of top medical professionals. The Aesthetic Lounge Med Spa provides skin care, facial rejuvenation, body contouring, laser hair removal, Botox, dermal fillers, chemical peels, and much more. What's great is that each treatment is tailored not just to enhance your appearance, but also to address specific skin concerns and to promote overall well-being. So if you're looking to pamper yourself and take your beauty routine to the next level, give the Aesthetic Lounge Med Spa a call at 224-768-8028 or visit them at their location on North Bank Lane. It's an experience your skin will thank you for. We'd also like to say we're thankful for our Patreon supporters, Otto, John C., Helen, Herrick, JM, and Paul G. Joe Weiss.
Hey.
Camera. You need to see me.
Jed Morris.
Hey.
Hey, Jed. How are you, sir?
I'm good. I didn't get my camera to do anything other than a blue background. Or you can have really funky jungle scenes or something. So
You look Hollywood.
That's right. Good to see you.
Good to
Good to see you, Jed.
Joe Weiss, why don't you set the table?
All right, well, we've got former Alderman Jed Morris here, who continues to serve our great city, this time in the role as,
chairman
of this ad hoc committee, or why don't you explain the committee you're part of?
It's the new police station advisory committee. So the mayor and the city manager wanted to get more community input beyond what they just get in the city council. So they recruited a bunch, looks about 8 people, really great people. And I can run down who they were, but they have terrific, but a lot to the table. So they were there to meet. We met 3 times with the police chief, his staff, the architects, and the finance folks. So it was a really good process. We got a lot of good input from all of the members. And I want to point out that one of them was Steve Wright, who actually designed the building back in 2008. So he knew an awful lot about the structure.
You're talking about the building the city bought on Field Drive.
They bought, yeah. Then we had Rosemary Kerr. So she's been on a whole bunch of city committees, including planning and ZBA and stuff. And we had a structural engineer with Carol Post and Bob Shaw, who's a developer in town, and Matt Nagel.
Developed my subdivision here,
Yeah.
Bob Shaw. Yeah.
And 2 aldermen. So Alderman Walters and Alderman Powers. So what a great group.
Jed, say hi to Jeff Urso, the fine establishment owner of Duffers.
Oh, I have
Yes,
not been in there, but I haven't seen you when I was there.
Yeah,
Nice to see you.
He's in the back cooking all the great food.
yeah, I'm always hiding somewhere.
Good. That's great.
Everybody's asking about the wings. So, Joe, we did a few podcasts and the police station came up. Scoo gave some thoughts, we gave some thoughts, and then some people are saying we're cop haters now. Why don't
I don't think anyone said that of me, but
So to stop us from getting pulled over left and right on Deerpath Avenue, if it's possible, it's so jammed up. Let's go over the new police building. And Jed has been on that committee. What I want to do is be the other side, bring up these other issues, and have Jed,
Sure.
squash them all. But before we go there, Joe, could you just give us a quick summary what's been going on?
yeah. So, and Jed, correct me if I'm wrong, because you're going to know this way better than me. But was it last year the city decided after some study that we can talk about more that there's a commercial office building on Field Drive, which is near the existing city building on Field Drive near Hallis Hall, that was up for sale. And because the commercial real estate market in the whole country has plummeted a lot because you have a lot more people working at home than you used to, and changes in technology, that this was the right place for the city to purchase and convert into the police station, because the current police station is a shared building with the fire station, the fire department on Deerpath, that goes back to the 1960s, and the city and the police feel they've outgrown that facility. So but there were questions raised at the time of the purchase by some residents. And then, and not to pick on Scoo, but Scoo and other folks did bring up some questions here on the podcast about it. So my first reaction was, well, let's get Jed on, because in my opinion, Jed, you know the difference between spending money and investing money. So I wanted to get your take on this and fill us in on the details, and Pete and Jeff can jump in with questions too. And if Scoot comes on, we'll have Scoot ask questions. I don't know where he is today.
I got his comments. Don't worry.
Oh, you got him. Okay.
Sure. Uh, well, I would start with saying that the current station is a subpar station. It doesn't meet a lot of the standards. And for instance, the shooting range is subpar. We still have to store the vehicles in the winter. We have to leave them running outside so that it doesn't destroy the electronics in the vehicles. It's not a very secure transfer point from the car for an offender into the retention and booking areas. Running out of space for storage of evidence, which there's no longer a window. You have to store it forever. So that's a big problem. So that's just a subpar facility. But I also look at it from the standpoint of manpower. It's becoming more and more difficult to recruit and retain your police officers. And in this situation, we talked about people coming to Lake Forest. They come because of you're hearing Mariani in the background, I'm sure. They come to it because of community safety. If you look at the survey they did in 2023, 91% of the respondents said that the police department and its professionalism was the reason that they were here. And if you go into the city's strategic plan, you'll see that they have 6 goals, one of which is provide exceptional safety and security for our residents, businesses, employees, and visitors. And if you go down a little further to the police department mission, it's promote, preserve, and deliver a feeling of safety and security while providing a high level of professional service. So in a difficult recruiting market, you want the best and brightest to deliver all those things. And having a substandard facility is a problem. And I think Chief Burke has already found that they're getting interest from recruits about coming to Lake Forest because of the new facility. So above and beyond just the fact that it's a subpar facility, I think it's really important to provide a basis for recruiting to get the best and brightest officers over here to Lake Forest.
Jed, so let's address some of the questions that have been raised by various residents about this. And the number one we've heard is, well, why can't they just expand at the current facility on Deerpath? The school nearby just built upwards at some point. Why can't they just build up or out at the current facility on Deerpath?
Well, sure. So if I were the alderman, I wouldn't approve that idea, and I'll tell you why. Um, you're going to have a major construction project. So how do you operate a fire station and a police station in the middle of a major construction project? I don't think you would get anybody to provide insurance for that project. I don't think OSHA would sign off on running a police station in the middle of that kind of a project. It's just not practical given the circumstances, and there's no place else to move it to. You can't move the station, and where are you going to put it with all of the infrastructure that's required for a station? So it's just not practical. I understand the idea, and that would be attractive if it weren't for these other factors.
And
So
wasn't there an issue with that property is a floodplain, so the building could only support so much weight?
I'm not sure about that. It is a floodplain because when we did the fields, we had to provide uh, place for the water to be retained in high water areas. So that's right behind the police station and the fire station. But I'm not sure about structurally how that
Okay.
plays out.
I think people
Yeah, and the
got
other,
their nose out of joint when the appearance was that Mayor Randy Tack came out of nowhere with this deal, did all this stuff behind the scenes before the city council meeting, and then all of a sudden, voila, we found this new building where we didn't know there was a problem before, and we have a building, and then now we find out there's a problem. Is there any truth to that? Am I the people that brought that up? Are they looking at it the right way, Jed? Is that what happened?
I wasn't part of those discussions, but from my understanding, it was a building that had been on the market for quite a long time. Steve Wright told me that the owners had tried to convert it into a residential building, but the Commercial Property Owners Association out there said, no, thank you. And so that just kind of over time killed the value of the building for the people that owned it. And so it kept dropping and dropping in value. And I'm not sure who made the city aware of the fact that this was available at a price of what, 3 million,
Three and a half million, yeah.
which is an incredible deal considering what you get in the underground parking. You know, we've looked at Wilmette and a couple other neighboring communities are looking at building a new police station, Libertyville. They're all up in the $50 million range, and that doesn't include half the stuff that we have, which is underground parking, the shooting range that we'll have, and the ability to attract other tenants to the second and third floor. So it's just a remarkable confluence of events, I think.
okay. The other issue we've heard a lot, is that the current station is centrally located to most of the city, if not all the city,
Mm,
where it's
sure.
presently located. And now you're moving it all the way to the west end of the city, out by the tollway almost,
Sure.
and concerns about response time to
Sure.
especially the eastern part of the city and to some of the schools, if God forbid there's a
Sure.
mass casualty incident.
Yeah. I was at a meeting where one of our women mother residents raised that issue for a child at Sheridan, but I would respond that there aren't that many police in the police station. They're all out patrolling in the different four wards. So there's the officer in each of the wards. There's a command sergeant that's traveling around. So if you picked Sheridan and there was an incident, there's a officer in that ward. There's an officer in the second ward, and an officer in the third ward. There's also officers that would be coming from Lake Bluff and Highwood, and they could come from Libertyville. So you could get a lot of police in that first ward school district pretty darn quick. And so I don't think it's that big of an issue. The police that are in the station are command officers, but the other officers that are out doing the patrolling and moving around are out in the community. So
Yeah, so the police departments are more mobile than fire
yeah,
departments. Fire
yeah,
departments,
correct.
fire stations need to be centrally located.
That's why
And
they're two
so the goal
spaces.
here is to get the police out of the current building and maybe give the fire department some more space to
Well,
develop
they need
a
it.
more modern
Should,
facility
we
there.
have, we have more female officers in the fire department and in the police department. And their facilities are really substandard. So again, to recruit the best and the brightest, we need up the capability and fix those facilities for the female officers. So,
Jeff, what have you heard about this? Anything? Because you're behind the bar, you hear things. You don't
I,
name
you know,
names, but you hear things.
you guys know where the original police station was Lake Colonial, right? So,
yes.
right. I mean, for forever it was in Market Square. So, and then, someone made a decision at the time, Lake Forest was probably growing. They had the foresight to, move a little further west by Deerpath. And I think we've hit that point already. So what I will tell you guys is someone that grew up in Lake Forest is, we have by far the best police force around. These guys are community police force, they're
Yeah.
Duly
they know
noted.
our names.
Yes.
So they're great.
Yeah, they do a terrific, I often tease the fire chief that we don't have a fire department, we have a healthcare department because the vast majority of runs they do by far are ambulance runs. So I did change the name on the trucks for fire and rescue because the paramedics, and they're all paramedics, even though you're on an engine, you're still a paramedic, and so they do a great job.
And don't forget, our paramedics are doing Lake Bluff as well, right? I mean, so
Yeah,
Lake Bluff doesn't have their own buses
yeah.
and Knollwood. So we
Mhm,
have Knollwood and
mhm,
all of Lake Bluff. So
mhm.
Lake Forest paramedics and fire department take care of this whole area.
Right,
So it
exactly.
makes
That goes
sense
back
that
to
they
the
had a
idea that if something were to happen, those Lake Bluff police officer would be there in a heartbeat. And to support it. It's just like, I hate to say it, but the 4th of July in Highland Park was the same example. Those officers came from Lake Forest, Libertyville, Lake Bluff, Highwood to support that situation.
Yeah, Mayor Pandalean pointed out on our show a while back that famous photo of a police officer with his
Hmm.
face in his hands was a Lake Forest police officer, and the shooter, when he did get arrested on 41, I believe it was Lake Forest PD that actually, along with North Chicago PD, that arrested him.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing I want to, just to go back to the building itself, we've provided now for a sally port where two vehicles can come in and offload offenders and into the retention and booking area. Underneath that, we have an area for forensics. If they were arrested in a car, you can put the car downstairs underneath to do all the forensics. That would have had to been done outside in whatever weather you happen to have in the current situation. And then we have all those parking spaces underneath. So that will handle all of the police vehicles we have, plus a bunch. So that makes it much easier for the officers to move their equipment into the car, out of the car, keep the car secure and warm in the winter. So that
Jed,
they,
what about the size of the building? Everyone looks at the picture of
sure,
the building online and like, oh my God, this is gonna be the world's biggest police station. It's bigger than the Chicago police headquarters, supposedly, and all that, which I'm not sure
uh,
if that's true or not. But it's a big building, bigger than what most people are used to seeing for suburban
sure.
police departments. So, talk about the plans with the whole building there.
Right. So, um, they did a study before they even decided about what they were going to do. They looked at the manpower and the space requirements in a really detailed way and came up with an Excel spreadsheet, if you will, of all the space that they needed. And then looked at this building. So they have room to expand. They're going to take the first and half of the second floor. And they need additional space, as I said, for retention of records and evidence, the expanded offender retention areas, all that sort of stuff. And then upstairs, there's the command structure up there. There's also a better lunchroom, better workout facility, and obviously the shooting range. The other half of the second floor and the third floor can be leased out. And apparently, I don't have all the details, but there's quite a bit of interest from other law enforcement entities in Lake County and nearby that would like to lease that space for their operations. And I can't go into the details because I'm not sure all of the details, but there's quite a bit of interest. So I think that that would fill the building. But you're right, it is bigger than what we would normally need. But at $3 million, it's hard to pass up because you can't build what we needed for anywhere close to that.
Jed,
So
it's three.
the land acquisition was 3 million. It
Yes,
will cost money to
yes,
retrofit
Yeah, how
the
much?
building.
25 million is our
So
best.
28 million total. That's still well below what Wilmette and
Yeah,
these other
exactly.
towns you mentioned are.
Exactly. And they won't have what we have. They won't have the parking underground. They won't have the firing range. So we've already had comments from neighboring police departments about using the firing range that we would have, which would be located underneath the drive leading up to the Sally Port.
So
So
people are bitching about this. What are they complaining about? The way they were notified? Because I see, for instance, I see 60 complaints, yet I look at the uh the city council video and I don't see 60 people watching the video on what's going on. So what they don't like
oh,
how they were notified about it. Like what are they complaining about, Jed or Joe or Jeff?
I was unaware that there were that much complaint. I know that the city has gone to great lengths to publish and keep people appraised. Advisory committee being one of them. But if you look at the information that they pump out from Dan Olson's office to the community, the website itself, there's a lot of information. So if they're not up to speed, I'm not sure what else we could do. But I wasn't aware that there was 60 complaints, but maybe
But
they're
in a city of what? Population of the city is what? Like 19,000, I believe,
right.
last I looked.
19. Yes.
Take the put that into context of 60 people out of 19,000. And you mentioned those surveys a little while ago about that the community feels very strongly about
Yes.
having a good police force. And I can remember, look, and we live in a democracy, and it's great that everyone has a right to come to a public meeting and express their views, and the public body deliberates based on that. But some of the comments I heard were legitimate concerns that I think got answered. Some of them were, there was one guy, I think he just had an axe to grind with the Lake Forest police because they pulled him over a couple times for stuff.
Maybe.
And, the thing I've heard from a few people, and I feel so strongly against that, what this feeling is that we're a safe place. We don't need a big police station, all that. I mean, what do the cops do here? And I just think that's a bunch of hooey because, I mean, we're not an island. We're not far
We
from.
are a safe place because of the men and women
Yeah,
that
we
are.
are a safe place. Don't get me wrong. We're not Englewood. We're not North Chicago, but we're not far from North Chicago. We're not far from 41 and 294, to
I don't know if
where
you,
bad people can come in and do stuff. We just saw my old hometown of Glenview just made the
Yeah, I
national
saw that
news about
video.
that.
That was crazy.
I lived within walking distance of that house, and that is, look, Lake Forest is a better neighborhood. No, don't get me wrong, but that is a very nice neighborhood, the Glen, and those are nice people. I know people that know them,
I don't know if any of
and
you have gone through the police academy, but I did. And when you come away from that is how difficult the job is to be a police officer, because you have to know the criminal law, the traffic law. You have to be a good friend of the community. There's a lot of abuse, child abuse, and other kinds of difficult marital situations that they walk in. You have to be very careful how you deal with those kinds of things, and they are expected to do a lot, and they do a great job at it, I have to say. And as a
All right, let
result,
me rephrase this, guys, because I'm not getting the response that I'm looking for. It's like we're all married, right? You go out and you thinking about I don't know, buying a new car. You just go out and buy it and you don't tell your spouse about it and you just show up with a new car.
maybe you do.
Is
maybe
that
my
what?
wife does.
No, but I mean, people are like,
It's
"Hey,
a
wait,
joke,
this is
Debbie.
out of the blue that hey, we're buying a police station and it's been approved and passed through and Scoo's in a bunch." Well, that's what
Well,
Scoo's
they
opinion.
post
He's lived here
I
long
mean,
agendas.
enough.
Jed, you here's how I saw it. Okay, and Jed, you correct me wrong because you served on the council. Under Illinois law, there are certain things that local governments are allowed to go into executive session for.
Mhm.
Personnel matters, lawsuits, things that if went public would have an adverse reaction and a negative reaction to the city finances or to the outcome of the case. The other one in that list is real estate acquisition, and
Mhm.
that's because if it just started at a council meeting, let's think about buying this place on Field Drive. What's going to happen? Real
Mhm.
estate speculators are going to run out and grab this thing. Is going to cost a hell of a lot more than what we paid for. So
Mhm.
they did have to do the acquisition part in executive session in accordance with Illinois law. But as soon as they were ready to seal the deal, they went public with a notice. And then actually, I believe you have to do two readings of it at the council.
Mhm.
You do one reading, and then they come back to a future meeting, do a second reading.
Correct.
And there was plenty of public comment. I remember John Turkla and his crowd showing up and all that. So, I mean, it was deliberated. And then the city has a whole website about this new police station that I'd urge everyone to look through. They held an open house at the new building recently. I unfortunately had a schedule conflict, so I couldn't go. I
Yeah,
think you were there,
two of
Jed.
them actually.
Two of them. Okay, yeah. So I mean, as public discussion and public deliberation goes, I think the city checked all the boxes and then some. They, but to just say, hey, we're going to buy such and such field, whatever that number is on Field Drive, out of the blue, that would have had a negative financial result for the city, in my opinion. So they did. I think they did everything they could within the law and within common sense.
Wait, hold on now. Did something go out there? Did I miss a meeting that says, "Hey, we need a new police station"? Did was the
They
study
said it
done?
for years.
Okay, so there was a meeting
George
for
said
that.
it on the podcast for years
Okay,
when he was on our show, George Pandolian.
okay, so we
They
need.
just never said where because they
Okay,
didn't know where. And I kept asking. I remember saying to George on this very show, you can go
no,
back,
but
find the tape.
hold on,
Where
Joe.
would it be, George? And he's
Take
like,
a sip of water, Joe. What if what if, hey, we need a new police station and we budgeted X amount of dollars for it and we're going to start looking? Would that be better than have this information come in versus like the deal is done, here you go?
Well, they've been talking about this for a while, and they've been searching for a place to put a new police station. And they've tried over by the hospital and other places. There just isn't any. And so it's been an ongoing discussion, and probably not in the the broad perspective of all the issues that are in front of the community. But we're already talking about a new rec center. So these things are long lead time items that need to be considered in all of the different facets of it. So
another issue, Jed, that I keep hearing about from people is, oh my God, this is going to raise my taxes.
no, it's not. So well, $60 a year for the average $885,000 house is the current estimate for a tax increase.
Because most of this you fund, we have the AAA bond rating, which means we can borrow money at the lowest rate
Right. Well, we're going to
possible.
borrow $19 million, and we're going to fund $11 million out of our surpluses.
And we
And
will still have the lowest
lowest
property
city tax rate
taxes
in
in
Lake
of
County.
any city in Lake County.
Absolutely. And probably on the North Shore. I haven't done the search, but I think on the North Shore as well. So it will raise a total of $183 over 3 years. It's $60 each year is the impact on this. And then,
It's a
once
lot less than the property tax increase that the high school got.
one of
I'm
the
going
other
to
things
say.
that hasn't shown up, but if you look at the debt service, when the water plant finishes in 2032, we'll have about 4.5 million of um, interest that we could use to fund another bond issue. So we could fund a $45 million bond issue in 2032 or 2033. Well, there's the rec center. So I think the city, and one other thing I wanted to point out is, we're a AAA, if you look at the per capita debt of AAA cities, our debt is about half of what the per capita debt level is for all those other AAA communities. So we have a very low um, debt level for the community that on a per capita basis. And in 2023 or 32, we could be looking at a new rec center, perhaps. I don't know how much that would cost, but we would have the ability to do
And
that.
we'll call it the Skoo Walker Rec Center.
Okay, the school
I'm
rec center.
proposing that.
All right.
Well, they're going to call this
In
the
honor of our friend Skoo.
well, they're going to call this the Randy Tack Police Station because that was the other complaint is that like, this is a a legacy thing that I want to have something for my tenure. I can be known for the police station. I've heard that too.
I don't think that's going to fly.
Okay. Jeff, you got anything else on the police station? Because I've been talking about the cops too much the last 3 weeks, and I'm getting nervous.
Listen, I was a pizza driver for a long time. The response time thing that everyone keeps bringing up, I disagree with. I think going down Route 60 to probably 75% of Lake Forest is faster, may not be closer mile wise. It is faster to go probably from that spot than the center of Deerpath, especially if we're talking at 7 or 3 o'clock when there's traffic. But even normal time of day, I mean, from the ponds to all of West Lake Forest, um, you know, yeah, I think this is a much quicker thing. And as you guys know, the cops are in 5 zones, right? So there's zones 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And in my experiences, those officers are always inside their zone. So, that would just be extra enforcement. So I don't think this response time is even a consideration, in my opinion. So that's all I got on the police station. I think it's a great
And
idea.
remember that people also are thinking of it in their drive time.
Right.
They're forgetting that police cars have much faster drive time. They can
Yeah.
go whatever speed they need to and run all those red lights if there's an emergency. So,
It's
Yep.
not going to cost us any more money, and the coppers are going to get a nice place. And the fire department people, they'll have more spots for their lazy boy recliners. Or is that the cops? I
hey,
forget.
now your
Anyway,
house
that's
is
what
going
I
to burn
was.
down tonight, bud.
But
They had 1,600 ambulance runs last year. You know how many that is per day? They don't hang around.
Yeah,
hey,
most community.
at $1,600 a pop, what's the margin on that,
It's
Jed?
They don't always get
thanks to
paid.
very good building codes and modern buildings, there are far less fires than there used to be. Now, there was a horrible, just today in the news, there was a horrible fire in Chicago that a firefighter lost his life.
Oh,
So there still are firefighters. There
yeah.
still are fires that happen. And car accidents. Unfortunately, that another thing that they have to respond to a lot. We've got 41 and the tollway
Unfortunately, we have to
nearby
go out
and
to
stuff.
41, and we don't get a lot of, nobody pays us for a lot of those calls out on
Yeah,
time. So,
Can we
right.
talk about
But
stuff
there's
that is going to
yeah.
come out of our pocket, like this stupid grocery tax, Jed? What the hell is going on? I saw that in the city council meeting.
you're asking the
Is the
wrong
state
guy on
screwing
that
us?
one. I have no, till you organized this call, I had no idea that that was out there. So I can't tell you.
All
Jeff,
right, I'll kind of try and help you out here.
do you see
Unless
that?
you want to say,
I didn't
I
see it.
think I think Pritzker said, you know what, we're going to take away 1% of your funding, so you're going to have to pick up your taxes 1% to make up for the difference of the money. It's up to you because we're home rule.
Home rule. Mhm.
I'll explain.
So we're putting, okay, go ahead, Joe.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
just
put a log on the
so
fire.
yeah. No, real quick. There's for years we have a sales tax formula in this state that is most of it goes to the state, but then some of it goes to the county and some of it goes to the local city that you're buying stuff in. Over the years, they've come to a consensus politically that, hey, it's okay to tax people for TVs and cars, but we really shouldn't tax people for their food and medicine because that's essential to life. So there's been this game over the years of how much. And when Pritzker was running for re-election in 2022, he decides, well, I'm going to get rid of the grocery tax completely. Well, when you do that, you're technically also getting rid of this of a major revenue source for all units of local government. And in a city like Lake Forest that doesn't have a lot of retail, like say Vernon Hills or Schaumburg, Your grocery tax revenue is a big ticket item in terms of revenue. So it's a tough one. And I
So
can
hold on,
see
you're saying
towns.
if Rummel would have let the Costco come in instead of Jason Wicker's new office building, we wouldn't have this tax hit us?
Well, then you'd have to decide what you tax at Costco. Do you tax it because people buy food? What's your biggest ticket item at Costco? It's food, right? So,
They sell a lot
you
of
know,
TVs over there too, Joe.
yeah,
Just
definitely.
saying.
I mean, look, we all, I think, I don't want to drag Jed into this unless he wants to, but I
Chad,
think
you're
we've
not a
all
part of this.
agreed.
They know.
I think we all agree that letting Costco go to Mettawa instead of being in Lake Forest was a huge, huge mistake for so many reasons. But the grocery tax thing, I don't know what Casey Earlocker's doing on
We
it
got to
with
find
Mettawa, but
500 grand in the budget. So where's it going to come from?
yeah, good question. If you don't restore, all they're doing is restoring what was there. They're
Yeah.
not
Basically, what I
Lake Bluff
increasing.
has a restaurant tax. So Lake Bluff, your sales tax when you go out to eat is 9% versus 8 in Lake Forest. So
Look, it's easy for me to say let's not have any taxes, but then how you going to pay for your police? How you going to pay for your fire department? How you going to pay to have your garbage picked up and your streets plowed when it snows? I mean, there is a basic level here
we
of
have the
funding.
surplus. I'm just trying to figure out the way they do we got the new financial person in, and I had a hard time following her in the last thing. I think she's a little nervous or whatever, but they put in we got what, a 3 million surplus or something, I think, off the top of my head. Jed, I don't know. I'm getting ahead of my skis here, but basically they say we always got to keep a surplus to always deal with stuff like this, that is gonna pop up. And I don't think it should pop up. This is something that we've been knowing about for a while. I guess, Jed, I don't know, but it's like all of a sudden we're gonna miss out on 500 grand. That could pay some of the pensions.
They do a lot of forward planning, 5-year financial planning
Yeah.
for all the different funds. So if something came up, it was because Pritzker did something, and I'm not familiar with exactly the terms,
Okay.
but they anticipate all this stuff, and which is why we're as well managed financially as we are.
So we have a AAA bond rating, but based on what you said a couple minutes ago, it really is like a quintuple A bond rating because we're better than most of the AAA bond rating
Absolutely.
communities.
Yes.
And one of the things I think Rob Lansing, who was the mayor, was a former
Mhm.
mayor. I heard him say at one point, and maybe been on this show or somewhere, that Lake Forest is very blessed to have so many people with financial backgrounds like you who step up and serve on these boards and commissions and ultimately the council, that helps give good stewardship to this. I mean, tell us about your background, Jed, because I think it gives a lot of credibility to the stuff you're talking about here.
Well, I want to give a lot of credit. I can tell you in a minute, but I give a lot of credit to Elizabeth Holleb. She did a fantastic job, and I think we would have been challenged in a lot of different ways financially if it wasn't for her and her forward planning and her thoughtfulness on how to manage this and her ability to communicate with the bond rating agencies. And so she and her staff are great. I obviously don't know the new director, so I'm hoping that she's going to be able to step into those shoes. My background was working for an accounting firm, and then I moved Arthur Young at the time, and I moved into financial consulting for public sector. So, City of Chicago, State of Illinois, Cook County, Lake County, all of those things, putting in financial systems to support those entities. So, a lot of exposure to where things are
So,
done.
and as a result, you saw how bad it can get at other city governments and how good
Absolutely.
it is
Well,
here in
if you
Lake
look at the
Forest, right?
pension funds, that's a classic example. I mean, we're in terrific shape. I mean, we're not fully funded, but we are in great shape in terms of the load it puts on our residents compared to the other communities, especially you go down to Chicago and Cook County and other communities in further downstate where they're really struggling.
In the last city council meeting, they brought up the new parks person, and he was talking about the artificial turf and tournaments and looking for direction. I thought they already had direction because when they put in the turf, they made projections on money coming in. Is the amount of money coming in that should be for that turf, Jet, or is it too soon? You got any thoughts on that or no comment?
I don't know, but I know Alderman Rummel and I and others were very hesitant to see a lot of uh, tournaments because of the restricted parking. I mean, if you go out to Libertyville and Vernon Hills, they have quite large facilities with lots of parking. So I'd be surprised if there were a lot of tournaments that were authorized to be on those.
But what happens, not just to play devil's advocate with you, Jed, what happens now
That's not what I
with
heard in the
games?
meeting.
Yeah,
Well, with
I don't
games,
know.
Oh,
and again, I don't know the whole story, and I'd like to dive into it on a future show. But um, there's games being played there now, and I don't. How many people walk there now versus drive? Everyone. If there's a
I think
game,
what
when
Jeff's
my
talking
kid was
about,
had games, we
yeah,
drove.
Jeff, help.
for like Vernon Hills, they'll do a massive lacrosse tournament with 100
Sure,
plus teams. Yeah, so I get that, but I will say the flip side of that, uh, any restaurant owner in town, we want those tournaments. So we want you guys to figure out that parking. We
Damn
want people
straight.
coming to our town, and we want people, on
sure.
weekends. We want everything going gangbusters. So we support those tournaments. We love those things. But at the same time, the parking is definitely an issue. I think, but we have a lot of city lots. We got to look into shuttle
Mhm.
buses on those type of days, stuff like that. It's a beautiful facility and should
Sure.
definitely push forward on, how to make it really good for everybody.
Well, it sounds like they're having those conversations based on what you were just saying, Pete.
But
So,
I thought these projections were already done. This is money that's supposed
well,
to be
yeah, the
coming in and it's
projections are
not
done.
coming
I just
in.
don't, yeah, I don't know what the actual
Uh,
recovery is.
okay.
Well, I
Well, it
think we
just
got a
get,
future show there, Pete.
well,
That,
no, I'm just trying to be fair. I gave Melanie a bunch
Sure,
of crap
sure.
about all the people, Bushmen and all
sure.
them. And, they say, well, that money's not going to come in. And,
I think Melanie had very different, with all due respect to Jed, I think Melanie had very different motivations for her position on this than
I can't speak to her
Melanie
motivations. All
was
I can speak to is the
Melanie was
money.
against the whole thing because she thought the plastic would kill everyone, if I
Well, I
recall.
think you can go out to the website. They publish the monthly financials out there, so you can probably see exactly. In fact, Pete, what I'll do is I'll go find out and I'll send you
Okay.
an email. How's that?
See, that's why we love you, Jed. That's
See,
why
thank you,
we're
Jed. You got to keep us straight here.
I will.
yeah.
We'll
Just
get
like
the
sitting
right
in the
number.
bar.
But
Yeah.
guys, on all these facilities, don't we want to just always continue to improve? I mean, we never just want something to keep falling apart and, I mean, there's the front lawn high school classic, beautiful thing. None of us want to see that change. But when we're talking about facilities, police, fire, park districts, events, beach, we always want to see it progress, don't we? I mean, with limitations, obviously, we're not just spending money to spend
Yeah,
money.
I don't want to pay
Eventually,
for it.
it's
That's
got to
the
be flipped
problem.
over. Yeah, but I
Well,
mean,
and I think the city has found a way through debt and management of its funds to minimize what you pay for it, Pete.
but it also keeps your home value up, right? I mean, that's why people want
Mhm.
to live
Fair
in
point.
cities. You got
Absolutely.
great facilities, great
I
police
think,
department, great schools. I mean, these are things that make it an expensive town for people to grow
Correct.
wealth through property here.
look, I'm sure, you mentioned earlier that Lake Colonial building used to be the police and fire station years ago, and they moved out to this current building in the 60s. And I'm sure at the time, the leaders of this city and the residents of the city thought, wow, this is great. We got this brand spanking new police station. It was state of the art,
Right.
top notch for what police departments needed in the
The
mid
food was better
60s.
back then too.
Yeah.
And not at Duff. They didn't have Duffers yet, though. So, times change. And look, 50, 60, 70 years from now, somebody's going to look at that building out in Field Drive like, man, that's old. And, but I think we're going to get a lot of good years of use out of that thing because
Well, I hope so.
it's less than what, 20 years old, Jed?
Well, it was built in 1960, so
No, the
the
new
current one is
building,
2008. Yes, so
2008. Wow.
It's
they
what the
do a
old Brunswick
renovation. It
building,
should
right?
go for quite a long time.
Yeah.
That's younger than my kids, and they're still in school. So yeah, that's great.
Yeah. No,
I don't
that's
want to
good.
beat a dead horse, but it's the police station. All right, hey, school, you got a beef? You're not here. Okay, great. Next, that grocery tax, issue. I got an issue with that. And the tournaments and the money coming through and the parking and all that with the turf. I want to hold these people accountable because that new parks person What, have they been here a year now? I mean, is the honeymoon over with this person? Show me the money.
And the only thing on the grocery tax, Pete, I hear you, and we need to do more dive into that. That said, my understanding, and I could be wrong, and it wouldn't be the first time, that all they're doing is bringing back the grocery tax that they had before Pritzker did this. So you're paying what you paid before, actually, and you're paying less because you're not paying anything to the state. Is my point.
Well, they're making our city council the bad guys on this,
Well,
right?
no good deed goes unpunished, Pete.
Can I write that
So,
down?
I have a question. While we're on this subject, do you think that we could ever do like a search committee? And I talk about this all the time, but can we future think? What if Lake Forest, Lake Bluff, police, fire, eventually IGA became one? Is there a savings for all residents in Lake Forest and Lake Bluff?
and Knollwood.
Big community. We're gonna throw Knollwood in there too.
No,
But
no, Lake Bluff is too high maintenance.
well, I'm just asking. I don't, on the finance side of this, with such a big facility,
I don't
now we're going
know.
from a population of 20,000 to 30,000. I mean, does this make, sense to look at?
Well, I suppose you could save some administrative funding, right, for people with record keeping and those kinds of administrative stuff. We still have the same number of officers, I think, both in the fire and in to cover the two communities. Maybe you wouldn't need two police chiefs, for instance. Maybe you'd have a police chief and a couple of commanders. That might save a little bit there. But
You don't think it would be a strong
That's
save?
genius.
no,
Lake Forest
well,
takes over Lake Bluff.
Well, no, like a Forest Bluff department.
No, we just take it over.
I'm saying
like President Trump wants the U.S. to take over Canada because we're basically funding them.
What?
They're in a hard time, aren't they?
I didn't.
But Jed, when you were
I'm not
alderman,
talking tomorrow. I'm just thinking.
Jeff, I'm with
Jed,
you,
I think
baby. That's
We're all
of
one
the
big
show.
community. I look at it as one big town. I know there's two different zip codes, but to me, it's one big town.
Jed, I don't know if it was Mayor Tack or one of the aldermen pointed out that and speak to your experience on the council, there are a lot of things that the city of Lake Forest has been, for lack of a better word, subsidizing the village of Lake Bluff with
Mhm.
over the years. And there are some in Lake Forest that feel there needs to be more accountability with that.
Well, there was, but maybe 3 years ago, there was a agreement between Lake Forest and Lake Bluff to eliminate that subsidy that was inherently happening because of the ambulance runs and such. So I think that's been taken care of.
Maybe we'll get the French mayor of Lake Bluff.
Jeff Urso
on
says
the
Lake
show.
Forest takes over Lake Bluff.
Pete, you're trying to get me killed over here. No.
Gazette
They become a new
headline.
restaurant, will they?
Forest Bluff, baby. Forest Bluff. That's what I'm calling it.
No, the way those people are, they'll say Bluff Forest.
Oh my gosh.
It's a great, we have once a year organization belong to, we have Mayor Tack and the village manager come and talk about it, and it's a great community when you look at both of them all together. It's really amazing.
Well, they do a lot of nice stuff in the summertime in their downtown area in terms of Rib Fest.
They got it zeroed in pretty well down there, 100%.
Yeah, we're lucky.
Yeah, but we Pete and I have been talking to Kathy a little. We're pushing Lake Forest. We're gonna get some cool things happening in Lake Forest too, Joe.
June 21st, Jeff. Get back to Kathy. I already gave up I gave you my date.
I'm in.
All right.
I'm in.
All right.
What are we going to call it?
We're going to call it the Lake Forest Block Party.
No, the Bluff Forest Block Party.
The Bluff Forest Block Party. There you go. I like that.
Kathy, we'll get right back to you. I promise.
Lake Bluff should just become the 5th ward of Lake Forest.
I'm sure they'll appreciate that.
Yeah, I wasn't
get the French mayor on the show.
I don't want you guys to screw me on this.
And my friend Trusty Mary Cole. Tell
No,
me I'm wrong.
I'm just thinking out loud on efficiencies. I mean, one day I think it'd be cool if you could use two different beaches, right? I mean, if you could go to Lake Forest Beach or Lake
Mhm.
Bluff Beach, stuff like
What?
that.
Sure.
Yeah, another town, Glenview and Wilmette had a deal where Glenview residents could use the Wilmette Beach, and Wilmette residents could use the Glenview pools.
Yeah, I mean that's another entity where park districts I think could make sense and eventually again not eliminating merging and so more options for residents and different idea.
Keep in mind, though, with parks, Lake Forest and Lake Bluff do it very differently. Parks and Recs is a department of the city of Lake Forest.
Yeah, it's a
In Lake
taxing
Bluff,
body.
it's
Yeah,
a separately elected park board, completely
yeah,
separate from the village.
100%. Yeah, I get that, but again,
Yeah.
With a
I'm just
budget of what?
bar Jeff here holding a beer.
Hey,
Just
I think they may have a budget higher than the city. The village. I think I may be wrong, but I think the Lake Bluff Park District, because doesn't the Lake Bluff Park District service Knollwood?
it does, it does.
So
So
they serve, but the
we're
village
in the
of Lake
park
Bluff
district
doesn't
now.
service Knollwood.
No,
So I think, and again, I could very well be wrong. I think the Lake Bluff Park District may have a bigger budget than the village of Lake Bluff. Could be. Maybe I'm dead wrong.
So what is the ideal amount of people you need to have things efficient, Jed? 50,000, can we get a couple? Why stop at Lake Bluff? Let's take over a couple other towns.
Yeah,
Highwood. Let's
Not
get all the
Highland
restaurants
Park,
in
no Highland
Highwood.
Park.
No,
Where's the
not
guy?
Highland Park, but Highwood. I want those restaurants. Jeff may not, but
yeah, I'm good with that.
Well,
I think the more restaurants, more bars, the better for everybody.
I mean, Highwood is basically the place where everyone in Lake Forest and Highland Park goes when they want to go out for drinks
Yeah,
and dinner, right?
there's
Yeah,
all
well, I
that.
think Lake Forest has done a great job turning that around, but
And we've
Yeah, no, I'd
yeah,
rather trust me. Every time I eat dinner in Lake Forest instead of
duly
Highwood,
noted.
I consider it a
gotten
win.
a
I
lot
eat
better in
every
the
single
last
meal in Lake Forest.
3 or 4 years. We've gotten much better.
yeah, Lake
People for a
Forest.
long time have said, "Why don't we have more restaurants? Why don't we have more restaurants?" Well, now we did. Now we
Yeah,
do, thanks to the guys on Western Avenue. So
yeah, no, it's going good. I
And
think
and uh and what's his name on Waukegan Road? Got to give a shout out to Everett
You know
Farm
what?
there.
I'll tell you what, when you look up privilege problems in Wikipedia, there's going to be a direct link to this.
Well, as I always say, there are first world problems, and then there are Lake Forest problems. And I love Lake Forest. I love
Duly
anyway,
noted.
it. Wouldn't live anywhere else now.
Jed,
But
we got your
yeah.
financial mind on this show. Is there anything else popping up or anything that you need to correct that, because we throw a lot of bullets every week. Please correct
no, I
us.
think things are going well. I mean, we got the fields. We'll check on the revenue for you, Pete. But we got that done. Look at all the water, stormwater stuff that we've gotten completed, and the new project down on Wensia Road, and the pond feeding into the Skokie River, what do you call it? We did that deep tunnel project up on Western to take care of the flooding up there by Crystal Point. Working on the ravines. We got the new walkway at the beach built. So it's just a lot of stuff that's been happening.
And Deerpath, I know it's a mess right now, and it's a real big hardship for a lot of the businesses downtown. But when it's all said and done, with this fall, that Deerpath is going to be beautiful, and Bank Lane's going to be beautiful when it's done, right?
Yeah, we've got a great golf course. It was going bankrupt.
I mean, I'm talking about Deerpath Road,
I know.
by the CBD.
Yeah, no, that's going to be a big plus. It's just
Yeah.
painful when it
Jeff,
happens.
does that hurt your business at all, or are you too far north?
I'm too far north, but I tell everyone, I'm like, I actually try to remind as many people as possible, which I normally don't do. It's like, hey, go to Left Bank, go to the new bagel spot. I mean, like, try to make it over there. I mean, we do. So,
I
Left
try to
Bank.
eat left bank
I've
and
had
once upon a
I've
bagel a
had more
lot.
Left Bank while Deerpath's under construction than I've probably had the year prior. So it's
Mhm.
it's a good reminder just to help them out. So, if you
Amen.
go over there and support them. Same with
Yeah.
the UPS store and whoever, I'm sure barbershop, everybody. They're all small businesses and they're definitely hurting. They're definitely down when stuff like this happens. So, um, if residents just go out there and just support them a little extra, Lake Forest and Lake Bluff residents got every restaurant through COVID. Let's help them out during construction summer.
Right.
And hey,
Well,
folks, if you're going to come downtown to get a cup of coffee, go to Gerhard's or Once Upon a Bagel or even Hometown before you think of
Homeless
going to
coffee.
Starbucks.
yep.
Um,
Has
just
anybody
I
seen Jesus in town?
shop local, shop local.
Has anybody seen Jesus in town? Is he setting up his tent yet?
Mm.
The kid with the beard.
I saw him spinning
Oh, yeah,
down the
he's,
street about a week ago when I was walking on Western.
You know what? I've been thinking about it. He may be behind, allegedly, all the filled poop bags in town.
Yeah, maybe we should put a hidden camera on Oakwood.
he's around our neighborhood a lot. He's not a bad guy. He's lives a different lifestyle, but he's okay. You
Nope.
know,
I'm more troubled by the guy that sits out at Fresh Market and pretends he's homeless when he's not.
Is
But
that guy
that's
still
another.
around?
I
Anybody
don't
know?
know.
And Jewel, there's another one by Jewel too.
Jules.
The jewels.
Okay. So can I panhandle? That's all I want to know.
Sure.
Want to buy, want to buy, want to buy. Okay, great.
Well, I won't. My 2 cents.
Yeah.
This is me. That the Supreme Court ruled that local governments can stop panhandling, and I would highly urge. I know it might give a rich city like Lake Forest a bad look, but I would highly urge that they consider it, or at least put up Gurnee. Gurnee of all places has signs up telling people don't give money to panhandlers, give money to organizations that
That's
truly
because
help the homeless.
Don Wilson led that whole thing in Gurney. I don't know if you guys know Don Wilson.
No.
He
Oh,
used to be 1023 XLC. He was 95 Will Rock. He was a I don't know, he was on a trustee of Gurney. He lived in Gurney. He lived on the east side of Gurney. I used to live in Gurney too. So Gurney, when you're east of 41, is very different than when you're west of 41 in Gurney. So the west of 41 is very similar to Vernon Hills. East of Gurney is more like Waukegan feel. Um, but
For
Don used to
Keegan.
say he used to preach on this was, hey, if if you, and it's good advice. If you're going to take money out of your pocket before you give it to someone panhandling it, give it to an organization that will help people, because maybe just
Mm.
maybe someone is trying to take advantage of the system, and maybe you're enabling something that you shouldn't be. Like I can't put myself in their shoes, and I'm not going to judge, but at the same time, if you're going to take money out of your pocket, give it to an organization that's been vetted, that people watch the numbers, and make sure it helps people the best way they can. So that's all I would say with it.
if you're going to panhandle, shouldn't you just show that you don't have any assets before you're allowed to?
What, do you want him to bring his 1040 out with him everywhere?
I'm just,
How you gonna do that, Pete?
I'm just saying, oh, I would do that.
Put
I'd
the
say, let me
Can
see
I
your
see your
house.
bank
president
account,
sign.
please?
How many? You got more cars than me, dude.
Yeah.
Or you know
I
what?
used
Move
to,
over. I'm going to take his spot.
when I went to college at Loyola in Rogers Park, there were quite a few homeless guys on Sheridan Road by the CTA station
Ronnie Woo Woo doesn't count.
trying to take advantage of college kids who had some cash, because back then you carried cash, and pawn off their good Jesuit goodness to get some cash. And I had a friend, what he used to do, there was a Wendy's right by the train station on Sheridan Road, and they back then they had the all you can eat salad bar. This was like early 90s. And he would go to these guys, he'd say, "Hey, look, can I take you in and get you a meal at the all-you-can-eat salad bar in Wendy's?" And some would say yes, and some would say, "No, man, give me the money for something else." So in other words, that was his way of doing what you just said, Pete, of doing that. And I think people should like discern this, because I've been told, it's been documented online, that the guy outside of Fresh Market is not homeless. No, don't buy that nonsense.
Jeff, what's going on at Duffers? Let's close out. You get what's going on
So,
tonight, Thursday
so
night.
we came up with a genius idea. I invite other teams. So we're inviting rib teams to come out and work the Smokeout Sundays. When I say work it, they get to cook their, smoke it the way they would at their events.
Yeah.
Make their sauce. Duffers pays for all the ribs, all the materials, everything, and you get unlimited ice cold beverages within reason, of course. We got to make sure you get home safe. So
Pete'll drive him home in his in his cyber truck.
yeah, so we're getting these teams to sign up. We got like 4 or 5 already, just since we thought of this at 2:00 yesterday. And we're gonna
How many beers did you have when you thought of it at 2?
Hey, listen, I started at 2:00 exactly. I had 2 on the show. Good. We sell the ribs. We're going to donate 10% of all the rib sales to the charity. And, so we're inviting any rib team. So Joe, Pete, if you guys want to get
Is this kind of like what Lake Bluff does every year with that rib fest?
Yeah. So we're inviting
Beef for Hunger?
some of those guys, that participate in that. Their team, it's just teams. It's 4 or 5 guys, or 4 or 5 people. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And, we're like, hey, come on out. You guys can cook. We'll buy all the meat. We'll buy all the materials, sell it. And it's a good way for them to practice. It's a good way to taste your competition's material, secret sauce, see how they're doing, kind of shape everyone up. Then we're going to have some live music.
I do believe you're, sorry.
What's that?
I was going to say, your friend, Mr. Rogers, you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Doesn't he do that every year at the Lake Bluff?
He does too. Yeah. We invited his team. His is called Porky's. I think the last 2 years, Chirac, which is Dave Lindstrom's team, has won 2 years in a row. So to eat 26 ribs, I come to that conclusion. So by the 24th rib, I don't care.
Are you having judges judge this like they do in Lake Bluff?
No. This is more, hey, bring it. We'll sell it, and you get customer feedback. And
what's the date for your event?
So every Sunday we're smoking ribs all summer long. So
what are the times? What are the times, Jeff?
So the ribs, we want the ribs to be ready by 1:00. So we open at 1. We got bottomless mimosas. We got bags outside so you can throw back. We're making our own little mini block party at Duffers every Sunday.
I like it. I really
and then hold the date June 21st.
Terrific.
Yeah, that'll be a party. So.
Party.
Woo!
Jed Morris, thank you for coming on and clearing things up, my
enjoy
friend.
talking with you guys.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
You are always a source of wisdom and knowledge, Jed. And
we need all the help.
Thank you for what you do for the city, because it'd be very easy for you to just say, I'm done and bye, and you're still giving.
Thank you for putting the podcast on every week. That's a lot of work. So.
Hey, man, it's a team effort, Jed. You're part of the team, man. You're the financial
It's a lot of conversation, doesn't it?
Yeah. All right, boys, have a great weekend. Jeff, smoke that meat, my friend.
All right, boys, take care. Thank you.
All right, bye,
Thanks,
guys.
Jed.
The Lake Forest Podcast is supported by viewers, listeners, and businesses just like you. Michelle Parno has lived and worked in Lake Forest for over 2 decades. Michelle's lending experience, when combined with her real estate expertise, makes her an invaluable asset to her clients as they navigate their home buying or selling process. Call Michelle now at 847-528-8721, 847-528-8721. For the best cannabis in the world, look no further than Iliad Epic Grow. Owned by Lake Bluff's own Rich Ruzich, they are a cannabis cultivation center focusing on hard-to-find small batch products that will delight both the occasional user and ganjier. When visiting Michigan, ask for it by name. Epic Products, exceptional process. For more information, email info@iliadgrow.com. Laracy & Company CPAs, founded in 2010 by Lake Forest's own Brian Laracy, specializes in tax preparation and bookkeeping services. Earning the People Love Us on Yelp award, their process is straightforward. Just upload, review, and file. For a free quote, visit LaracyCPA.com now. That's LARISEYCPA.com. I'm excited to share with you something special from our Lake Forest community, the Aesthetic Lounge Med Spa, located at 775 North Bank Lane in Lake Forest near Wisconsin Avenue. This just isn't any spa. They offer an amazing blend of traditional spa services plus the added benefit of medical procedures and treatments. In a relaxing and luxurious spa environment, you can enjoy a range of cosmetic and aesthetic treatments. These are all performed under the supervision of top medical professionals. The Aesthetic Lounge Med Spa provides skin care, facial rejuvenation, body contouring, laser hair removal, Botox, dermal fillers, chemical peels, and much more. What's great is that each treatment is tailored not just to enhance your appearance, but also to address specific skin concerns and to promote overall well-being. So if you're looking to pamper yourself and take your beauty routine to the next level, give the Aesthetic Lounge Med Spa a call at 224-768-8028 or visit them at their location on North Bank Lane. It's an experience your skin will thank you for. We'd also like to say we're thankful for our Patreon supporters, Otto, John C., Helen, Herrick, JM, and Paul G.